Hello, dear students. Today we will look at first the biography of Oliver Goldsmith. The essay Bo Tibbs by Oliver Goldsmith is prescribed for the students of BA Part 1, English Literature, Paper 2. But before we look at the essay, first the biography of Oliver Goldsmith is presented for you. Oliver Goldsmith was one of the most popular 18th century English writers who lived a fascinating life of contradictions between his questionable brilliance and self destructive tendencies. Many details of Goldsmith's life are not precisely known, partially because he seems to have frequently lied to his official biographer about details as innocuous. Innocuous means something that is not very important, very small in importance, as his birth year or as significant as his lineage. Lineage means from which family did he belong. And yet, this fact tells us as much about Goldsmith's life and character as any other detail. Goldsmith was born sometime between 1728 and 1731 to a poor Irish family. He was one of 7 children, and his father was a country vicar. Vicar can be understood as the priest of a church, one who's in charge of a church. When Goldsmith was still young, his father's death forced him to rely, means depend, on a wealthy uncle for support. In his early days, he was frequently bullied because of facial disfigurement caused by smallpox. Goldsmith never bothered to hide his Irish origins, even maintaining his brogue. Brogue is a marked accent, especially Irish. In other words, the way you speak with grr sounds, that style of speech is brogue. Despite the fact that it would have been considered low class once he later settled in London amongst more esteemed company. His relationship with his mother was always a complicated one, and he later grew estranged from her, means he distanced himself from her. The 5th child of a country rector in Ireland, Oliver Goldsmith entered Trinity College Dublin in 1745 and earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in 1749. He studied medicine at the University of Edinburgh in 1752-1753 but did not take a degree. After further medical training at the University of Leiden, he travelled on the continent, not to return to London until 1756, when he attempted to establish a medical practice. Now here the word continent refers to Europe. He was always noted for his intelligence and earned a Bachelor of Arts at Trinity College Dublin in 1750, or it could be 1749. While there, he participated in a student riot and was publicly admonished, means scolded, for his role. Despite a strong acumen, meaning keen insight and also capability for literary work, Goldsmith was unable to settle on a career for a long time. Flitting means to change one's home or move quickly or rapidly between the church, law, and education. In 1752, he began to study medicine in Edinburgh. Though there is no evidence that he ever completed his course of study, he did later practice medicine and in fact referred to himself as Dr. Goldsmith throughout his career. Goldsmith travelled for many years until settling in London in 1756. It was here that he finally turned to literature and his career took off. Though he made a lucrative living through writing history books and literary journals, Goldsmith also lived a freewheeling life of gambling and generous extravagance that kept him in debt. It was during this time period that Dr. Samuel Johnson, one of England's most famous men of letters, became a great admirer of Goldsmith's work. Through Johnson's patronage, Goldsmith began to publish his first master works, including the novel The Vicar of Wakefield. This novel, along with his masterful comic play She Stoops to Conquer, found great success and remain his best loved works. Vicar was particularly important since his advance earnings kept him out of a debtor's prison. यानी कि उन्होंने पैसा बहुत बहुत उधार ले रखा था और इस नॉवल को पब्लिश करके इसकी बिक्री से जो पैसा उन्होंने कमाया था उससे कुछ हद तक वो अपना कर्जा चुका सके थे, नहीं तो उनको जेल हो जाती. During this period, Goldsmith also published his letters and the life of Richard Nash. He continued to write throughout the 1760s, overseeing several editions of The Vicar of Wakefield during that time. Goldsmith died suddenly on April 4, 1774, after suffering from a kidney disease that he refused to treat properly. Maybe he didn't even have the money for that. It was an early death, but not entirely unexpected considering his lifestyle. His work, The Haunch of Venison, was published posthumously, means after his death, in 1776. During his life, Goldsmith was equally known for his brilliance and for his insecurity. Always willing to act foolishly, he could come off as extremely generous and gregarious, means talkative, or as conceited and pretentious, meaning pretending to something that he was not really. Some biographers see in him a constant contradiction, जिसको हम हिंदी में विरोधाभास कहते हैं, between the high class post he earned through talent and the low class heritage he refused to totally eschew. Eschew means deliberately avoid doing something. In short, Oliver Goldsmith is one of the most contradictory of his day's canonical writers. Canonical means somebody who made a huge impression on the reading public. A quality that helps very much to understand the complications inherent in his work. From ancient times to the present, authors have been intrigued with the character essay. Among the most famous English writers who have tried to capture the essence of personality on paper are Addison and Steele, who created Roger D. Coverley, and Will Wimley, Samuel Johnson, who originated Dick Minnin and Mr. Sober, and Oliver Goldsmith, whose characters in The Citizen became extremely popular. The British poet, dramatist, novelist, and essayist Oliver Goldsmith, whose dates are he was born in 1730 and he died in 1774, wrote, translated, and compiled more than 40 volumes. The works for which he is remembered are marked by good sense, moderation, balance, order, and intellectual honesty. Goldsmith soon began to supplement his meager income, meager means small income, from medicine by contributing reviews and essays to such popular journals as the Monthly and the Critical. His first book, An Inquiry into the Present State of Polite Learning in Europe, 1759, included an important essay on the English stage. By the mid-1760s, Goldsmith, or Goldie, as Dr. Johnson fondly nicknamed him, had established a steady income as a compiler. An original member of the famous club founded by Dr. Johnson in 1764, Goldsmith enjoyed the friendship of such 18th century notables as Edmund Burke and Sir Joshua Reynolds, who later wrote a brief biographical sketch of him. Goldsmith's inability to handle his money, his extravagance, his generosity, and his habit of borrowing money from his friends kept the stocky, pockmarked author in debt until the end of his life. Indeed, as he is said to have left debts amounting to £2,000 of the 18th century. Today, that much amount would be more than 20 lakh rupees. Goldsmith made his early literary reputation as an essayist. The 8 weekly numbers of the Bee, published in 1759, which contain some excellent small poems, dramatic criticism, moral tales, and serious and fanciful discourses, exhibit his preoccupation with vivid and rich human detail and his felicitous style. Perhaps his finest sustained work as an essayist, however, was The Citizen of the World of 1762, which had appeared serially in the Public Ledger in 1761. Goldsmith employed the popular 18th century device of a foreign traveller, commenting in letters to his home country upon the strange customs of the lands through which he passed. These Chinese letters exhibit Goldsmith at his relaxed, playful, and graceful best, one of which is the essay that we will do in the next session, Beau Tibbs. Poetry and fiction. The Traveller, 1764, Goldsmith's first major poem, expresses such conventional ideas of his age as the vanity of human wishes and despair in the search for happiness. Best described as a philosophical descriptive lyric, the poem is a panoramic imaginative tour through Italy, Switzerland, and France. His poetic masterpiece, The Deserted Village, 1770, has often and erroneously, means wrongly, been mistaken as a wholly autobiographical poem. Picturing the economic difficulties of rural life, the dangers of luxury, and trade's unfeeling train, the poem expresses current 18th century ideas in so personal, moving, and aphoristic a fashion that it remains one of the most frequently quoted poems in the English language. Both poems exhibit Goldsmith's mastery of the heroic couplet, the major poetic form of the period. He left a third long poem entitled Retaliation unfinished at his death. Goldsmith's one novel, The Vicar of Wakefield, was received indifferently upon its publication in 1766, but soon became popular and remained the most widely read of all the 18th century novels for the next 100 years. According to James Boswell, Dr. Johnson saved the distraught Goldsmith from a debtor's prison by selling this manuscript, the only one he could find in Goldsmith's lodgings, for £60. The brief novel, which leads Dr. Primrose and his family from disaster to fresh disaster, has greater structural and thematic unity than most critics have acknowledged. The greatest appeal, however, lies in its gentle and tolerant humor, the attractiveness of Dr. Primrose's character, the combined pathos and irony of the narrative, and Goldsmith's graceful prose style. Plays and other works. Goldsmith's first play, The Good Natured Man, found little favor when it was finally produced in 1768. While it has important historical interest because it marks a major turn away from the sentimental comedy that had dominated the 18th century stage, it preaches a prudent benevolence throughout which has little appeal for the modern reader. The second of his plays, She Stoops to Conquer, 1773, is by far the more impressive of the two. Despite a farcical plot and the patent absurdities of young Marlowe's mistaken assumption that the Hardcastle mansion is an inn, and of Mrs. Hardcastle's delusion that her husband is a highwayman, the play's wit, good humor, and lively characterizations made it an immediate success and have given it continuing popularity. In their search for marriage and social position, the characters have a warmth and charm quite atypical of most plays of the period. As compiler, author, and translator, Goldsmith participated in a host of commercial publishing ventures during his lifetime. He was involved, for example, in the publication of a 5-volume abridgment of Plutarch's Lives, 1762, a 2-volume History of England, 1764, followed by a 4-volume continuation, 1771, 2 volumes of the Beauties of English Poesy, 1767, 2 volumes of Roman History, 1769, 2 volumes of Grecian History, 1774, and 8 volumes of An History of the Earth and Animated Nature, 1774 again. With this, we end the biography of Oliver Goldsmith. Dear students, I would like to tell you कि अगर लेखन में कोई भी शब्द अगर किसी का अर्थ आपको समझ में नहीं आता है तो उस शब्द को नोट करके यानी कि लिख कर उसका अर्थ ढूंढिएगा, गूगल डिक्शनरी में मिल जाएगा और उसको इंग्लिश व हिंदी दोनों में लिखकर समझने की कोशिश कीजिएगा। धन्यवाद। थैंक यू।